In a shake-up that will make cable execs spit out their crystal flutes of boardroom champagne bubbles, the UFC is ditching its traditional pay-per-view model for a shiny new streaming one. Paramount Plus is cutting a $7.7 billion check to stream all UFC cards starting in 2026. The new deal is set to cover all 43 annual events. That's the current 13 pay-per-views and 30 fight nights. These will now be streamed on Paramount Plus, with a few big-ticket shows landing on their flagship channel, CBS, for some free-to-air bragging rights. With its ESPN deal ending in 2025, TKO Group, who are the WWE and UFC parent company, shopped around and, despite Netflix looking like a frontrunner having recently acquired the WWE, decided to go all in with Paramount. According to the release statements, Paramount will cough up an average of $1.1 billion per year for the promotion, with later years likely to be even more expensive. For context, the NFL makes $10 billion annually in broadcast rights, so no, the UFC hasn't quite joined that mega-lucrative stratosphere just yet. But at over $1 billion a year, the deal does edge them towards the NBA's $2.5 billion deal. And it's just a few $100,000 behind Major League Baseball's $1.5 billion TV checks. The deal will see the end of the $79.99 pay-per-view buy, at least for US-based customers who can get a Paramount Plus subscription for between $7.99 and $12.99 a month. Those plans already include Showtime, which means premium TV and film content, as well as the UFC. Obviously, the biggest change is dropping the pay-per-view barrier. As UFC CEO Dana White explained, every fight will be available to anyone with a Paramount Plus account, meaning casuals can now discover the sport while channel surfing. Paramount just locked up South Park. They have Yellowstone, Mobland, which is a big hit, Tulsa King, and the list goes on, said White, sweetening the deal. Now you just pay $12 or $13 a month, whatever it is, and you get all this programming plus all the UFC content. White also hinted at a return to the big event strategy, which has been scarce lately thanks to the UFC's quantity over quality schedule. But whichever way you look at it, the UFC clearly isn't showing any signs of slowing down their global takeover. It's looking like we're going to do 4 big events a year on CBS, White said. Plus, we basically go every Saturday, so when you're asking about seasons and off time, there is no off time for the UFC. We go every Saturday. In the UFC on ESPN 72 headliner, Anthony Hernandez completely outclassed Roman Dolidze. Simply put, it wasn't close. Hernandez dominated from bell to tap, smothering Dolidze until the Georgian finally surrendered to a rear-naked choke in round 4. After some early and chaotic stand-up exchanges, Hernandez stuffed clinches, landed takedowns, and outstruck Dolidze for the majority of the first 3 rounds. In round 4, he finally locked onto a choke that forced the panic tap for his 8th straight victory. They've done a great job of matchmaking me. I want to prove that I can take the title, Hernandez said after the win. If it has to be a BMF title just to take a contender seat, then run it. I want a belt. I want something. I want to prove that I'm the best in the world. If he's honest with himself, a middleweight title shot isn't on the immediate horizon. No matter who wins between the champ, Dricus du Plessis, and his challenger, Khamzat Chimaev, this weekend, Hernandez is still several rungs down the ladder. More realistic would be him chasing the number 4 ranked contender, Israel Adesanya, or the number 7 ranked Robert Whittaker. Both are ex-champions, and because both are in a slump, they might take the gamble to get back in the win column. In the co-main, former UFC flyweight title challenger Steve Erceg snapped his losing skid against late replacement Ode Osbourne. The Australian took a competitive unanimous decision in front of the Las Vegas crowd, but there were some rocky moments to get through. Osbourne came out fast and wobbled him with a check hook in round 1. After that, Erceg pushed for takedowns and Osbourne quickly started to gas. The American rallied with another hard right to start round 3, but Erceg countered with a takedown and mauled him from there. The win snapped a brutal 3-fight skid, but it was a murderer's row of flyweights he lost to. The first was against the champion, Alessandro Pantoja. Just 3 months later, the Australian got blasted by Kai Kara-France. And then he dropped a close 5-round decision to the 2-time flyweight champion, Brandon Moreno. But hopefully, that's all behind him now. Obviously, you have doubts running through your head like, was I a fraud all along? Do I really belong? Do I deserve to be here? All of that nonsense, said Erceg. It's good to fight a tough guy in the UFC who has been here for ages and get a tough win. No fight of the night was awarded at UFC on ESPN 72, but Anthony Hernandez, Christian Leroy Duncan, Elijah Smith, and Jocelyn Edwards all pocketed a $50K performance bonus. And if you haven't seen Smith's Rampage Slam yet, do yourself a favor and look it up. In other news, UFC heavyweight champion Tom Aspinall isn't daydreaming about fighting Jon Jones at the White House. In fact, he's not even sure it's a good idea.
Where is he going to go?
It doesn't not interest me, but it doesn't really interest me. It would be a cool experience, but I feel like the Americans should get the shot at the White House, explained the British champ. I'm not American. Aspinall missed out on his long sought-after unification fight with the then-champ Jones when Jones decided to retire instead. This made Aspinall the undisputed champion by default, and he'll make his first defense against Cyril Gane this October 25th. However, US President Donald Trump intends to celebrate America's 250th birthday with a UFC fight on the lawn of the White House.
Dana's gonna do it. Dana's great, one of a kind.
The prospect of headlining what could be the biggest card in fight sports history made Jones rethink his retirement. But it takes two to tango. I don't even have a comment on it. It's boring as hell. Don't want to talk about it. I've already got a fight, so I'm focusing on that, said Aspinall. I micromanage things so well mentally. For the next 10 weeks of my life, all I'm thinking of is Cyril Gane and how to beat him. Also going against Jones's plan is Dana White. The UFC CEO is hesitant, to say the least, about entrusting Jones with the headline fight of such a marquee event. Bones infamously caused the only cancellation of a UFC event when he refused to fight a replacement opponent. He was stripped of his title after a hit-and-run incident, and he failed multiple drug tests, including one that cost him a main event and the world title. And that's just to name a few of his indiscretions. I heard the comments he made at last night's press conference, tweeted Jones in response to Uncle Dana. While I was a little disappointed, I'm still in the UFC's drug testing pool, staying sharp and continuing to train like a professional. I'll be ready for whatever comes next.
Thanks for watching, and remember, if you want more fight sports in your life, just hit the subscribe button.